Up next, from LiveLink, we have a late-night gotta-go-pee story from New York City involving a lady in a third-story apartment and a 7-foot python inside her toilet bowl. Not wanting to turn on the lights and risk waking her sleeping child, the lady's late-night trip was illuminated only by night lights. Maybe that's why she didn't see the snake until after she had finished and gotten up. Fortunately, the python was a wuss and apparently perceived her as being totally fearless and therefore probably dangerous, and demonstrating her disdain for pythons by peeing on its head. It was just too much. The sissy serpent retreated back down the drain and wasn't captured until a few days later. Today, it lives happily in a large glass home where it eats rats and nobody pees on it. So hooray! Wasn't it nice to have a happy ending? But some folks might say, big deal. She was never in any real danger. Pythons are non-venomous, and they have to wrap themselves around you before they can hurt you. To which I reply, let's look at a skull. Okay, I don't know or care if this is a python or boa constrictor, because it doesn't matter. Certain features are common to most snakes, be it a rat snake or an anaconda. First, notice the teeth, as if you haven't already. Note how they are sharp and curved inward. All the better to prevent dinner from running away. And if that's not enough, it has separate lower jaws, which can pivot out and downward, so it can supersize its mouth for those special occasions. So what do you think? Was she never in any real danger, with a 7-foot python just inches beneath her? Just one more snake story, and it's not really about a snake. From the BBC, we learned that a woman in a Dutch hotel also found a python measuring over 8 feet in her toilet. An investigation then revealed that the python had escaped by way of the toilet from another hotel occupant who was smuggling animals for the exotic pet market. Among the animals rescued was this cute little baby crocodile, shown here resting on someone's fingers. Fingers that in a year, when the croc is about 3 feet long, will qualify as food. And had it been sold, its owners would probably no longer see it as cute, and would definitely be tired of cleaning crocodile crap out of their carpeting. But since it's illegal to own a smuggled croc, they can't sell it. So what will they do with it? They'll probably set it free, which means they'll secretly take their pet to a wooded location and abandon it. Or if it's still small enough, they'll flush it down the toilet and thereby kill it. But will it kill it? Probably not. To illustrate, here's a 1-week-old puppy, its eyes not even open yet, accidentally flushed away by a small child. It's in a sewer pipe, totally helpless, but very much alive. Fortunately, a sewer repair company heard of the incident and was able to rescue the pup. However, had it been a small but more mature creature, like a rat or lizard or even a young crocodile, it could have freed itself by way of someone's toilet, just as the escaped python did. And now, as long as we're in the sewer, take a look at all those cobwebs along the top of the pipe. I'll back up a bit so you can get a better view. Notice how they have an irregular and tangled appearance. And although I don't know what kind of spider built these webs, one spider that builds irregular and tangled-looking webs has been found in a U.S. sewer. It's the famed and feared Black Widow, shown here in the Chagrin Valley Times. Of course, the big question is, can it or other spiders get past the water that is in a toilet's gas trap? Frankly, I don't know yet, but I'll let you know when I find out. However, I suspect that this will depend on the part of the world you're in and on the spiders indigenous to that area. Chagrin, by the way, is near Lake Erie, which means it gets pretty cold in the winter. Far too cold for itsy-bitsy spiders, I thought. But as it turns out, sewers maintain a more or less consistent temperature year-round, potentially making them an ideal refuge for a variety of creatures, such as iguanas, for instance, that then show up in people's toilets and are mistaken for alligators, like the little 9-inch one on local10.com out of Miami, or the 2- and 3-foot-long iguanas that National Geographic reported on, and which some folks found floating in their toilets. 2 feet, by the way, is roughly the distance from your fingertips to your armpit. So can't you just see it? One morning, after dragging yourself out of bed, And stumbling to the bathroom, you lift the lid and find a lizard as long as your arm, looking at you as if saying, "Leave me alone." And you've got to go. What would you do? Would your bladder survive? Would the iguana? But you're still pretty safe because iguanas rarely eat meat. However, this guy does. It's a young monitor lizard who thinks he's a Komodo dragon, discovered by a young lady in Malaysia who announced her discovery at a decibel level rivaling the explosion of Mount Krakatoa. But perhaps you're thinking, somewhat smugly, that you don't have to worry because you don't have tropical lizards where you live. In that case, you might find this interesting. Here's a headline from the English version of the Norwegian newspaper Aftenposten. The story is about a local woman who took her 3-year-old son to use the toilet, and when they lifted the lid they found a South American tegu. And if you don't know what a tegu is, let me show you one. Behold, a tegu. Looks kind of like a big snake with legs, doesn't he? And although tegus are omnivores, one of their favorite foods are rats, and their jaws are so powerful they have been known to bite off a human finger. So it's obvious that if a hungry tegu made the same mistake that penis breath here made, the tegu would not have gone away hungry. But you know something? That's not really the point here. Nor does it matter how it got there. All that matters is, it got there. A lizard from the tropics ended up in someone's toilet bowl near the Arctic Circle, just as a python ended up in a woman's third-floor toilet in New York City. So the actual point is, this kind of thing really happens, and it can happen anywhere in the world, at any time, to anyone. And now we're almost done. We've covered squirrels, rats, snakes, lizards, and the possibility of spiders. But wait, there's more. Let's not forget about bats. Yes, bats are also showing up in toilets, but there's no definite proof on how they're getting there. So for now, just be aware that they are being found and keep your eyes open. Then, as with spiders, we'll deal with them when we have some factual information. And that does it for the main creatures to be on the lookout for. The others, like frogs, snails, insects, and so on, we can deal with later. Finally, so how can you protect yourself? The following are a few suggestions based on what we've learned, and a couple that I personally thought of. Here we go. Suggestion number 1. Don't put food, and this includes grease and oil, down any drain in your home, because as you now know, it creates an aroma trail extending deep into the sewer, calling the rats to you. Then combine this practice with suggestion number 2. Clean your drains monthly. To do this, our friends from Seattle King County recommend using 1 cup of baking soda, followed by 1 cup of vinegar, followed by a boiling water rinse. If you don't have the baking soda and vinegar, try using 1 cup of household bleach, also followed by a boiling water rinse. However, this is for your kitchen drains. Don't even think of putting boiling water down your toilet, because there's a seal made of wax where the toilet connects to the floor, and if you melt it, you're going to have problems. And now, although suggestions 1 and 2 can help in regards to your home toilets, what about the toilets you use away from home? Like at work, school, bars, restaurants, when visiting friends, and so on. For those times, here's something that takes less than 10 seconds and should actually be used every time you use a toilet, especially away from home. Suggestion number 3. Look and flush before you sit. This one act, if done properly, will do more to protect you from UEs than anything else you can do for free. And it's easy to teach to your kids. It's telling them why they should do this that might get a little bit tricky. Here's how it goes. Lift the lid and actually look into the bowl. Don't just glance. Then lift the seat and make sure there isn't something on top of the rim or clinging to the bottom of the seat. While the seat is up, again look into the bowl, this time focusing on the area just below the rim. After you do that, flush. Although flushing won't always immediately wash anything larger than a spider or insect back down the drain, it should startle and at least temporarily discourage a rodent or reptile that might be crawling or slithering towards you. Thus it buys you a little time, so now it's much safer for you to sit. But I would still advise you not to dawdle, just pee and flee. And now, suggestion number 4. Keep a small bottle of liquid dish soap in your bathroom. This way, if you find a rat in the toilet, you won't have to leave the toilet unguarded and risk the rat getting loose in your home as you go all the way to the kitchen to find the dish soap, and then as you force yourself to return to the bathroom, which might take a while. And if you should happen to find a rat in the toilet, pretend it's naked. Because you've got to admit, it's kind of hard to be intimidated by a naked little rodent. Then get the dish soap and do the squirt and flush routine until it's gone. And to ease your conscience, remember that rats are great at swimming underwater, so flushing it a few feet back to the sewer is highly unlikely to kill it. But it will piss it off. And after such inhospitable treatment, the rat probably won't want to visit you again, and instead will go visit your neighbor's toilet. Won't she be surprised? And now, here's the last thing I came up with, which isn't free, but it is cheap. Suggestion number 5. Put a little peppermint oil in your toilet bowl. Yeah, I know, that sounds kind of weird. But Google the words peppermint oil and rats in quotes, and you'll get 200,000 or more hits, most of them praising peppermint oil as a rat repellent. And unless everyone is lying, rats really hate this stuff. But this is not the peppermint extract sold in grocery stores, which has very little oil and is mostly alcohol. And although it may be better than nothing temporarily, I suspect you'll do better using the oil, which you can find online or in health food stores. Just be sure to get it as a liquid and not as capsules. And you shouldn't need very much. Probably just a few drops every day, perhaps applied with one of those misty type perfume bottles. Just be sure to add the oil while flushing, as the last of the water is still going down the drain. That way, a little of the oil will end up floating on top of the water in the gas trap. And since rats can't get into your toilet bowl from the sewer or roof vent without going through the gas trap, voila! It stalks off to visit your neighbor. And you don't have to worry about rats in your toilet. Just snakes, lizards, bats, spiders, and so on.